Donald Trump has recently threatened the BRICS countries with a 100% import tariff if they create their own currency or support an existing one to replace the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. The warning came via a post on social media over the weekend where Trump emphasized the US's desire for a commitment from BRICS members not to back any such currency initiatives. He added that failing to comply would lead to significant tariffs, which could heavily impact trade with the US. What does this mean for US, India, and global trade as nations seek alternatives to dollar dominance amid rising sanctions? We explain. For years, the US has leveraged its global financial influence, especially through the SWIFT network, which helps facilitate international transactions. Following sanctions on countries like Russia and Iran, there has been growing interest in finding alternatives to the US dollar for international trade. At the BRICS summit in Kazan in October, Russian President Vladimir Putin emphasized that the US's use of the dollar as a weapon had pushed countries to explore other options. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has also spoken about creating a new BRICS currency to enhance payment options and reduce vulnerabilities for its member countries. India, which has already moved towards using its currency, the rupee, in trade, has supported these efforts to reduce dependence on the dollar. India has made moves towards internationalizing the rupee. In 2022, after Russia faced sanctions amid the Ukraine conflict, the Reserve Bank of India allowed trade invoicing and payments in rupees for international trade. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has shown support for greater financial integration among BRICS nations, highlighting that trade in local currencies can strengthen economic cooperation. However, India's approach is not about abandoning the dollar entirely. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar clarified that India does not actively target the dollar but seeks to find alternative settlement methods in response to trade issues, particularly when partner countries face difficulties accessing dollars. While the US dollar remains dominant in global trade, with over 90% of transactions involving the dollar, other currencies like the yen, euro, and British pound also play significant roles in global commerce. A proposed BRICS currency would serve as one of many alternatives aimed at reducing over-reliance on a single currency. Ajay Srivastav, an expert in international trade, argues that Trump's tariff threat could backfire. A 100% tariff would likely shift US imports to third-party countries, which could raise costs for American consumers without bringing manufacturing jobs back to the US. Given the US's current manufacturing competitiveness, challenges tariffs may not resolve the issue. Despite India's support for local currency initiatives within BRICS, there are concerns about China's growing influence within the bloc. Ajay Sahai, Director General of the Federation of Indian Export Organizations, cautioned that India should ensure that these initiatives do not disproportionately favor China, which has a dominant economic position within BRICS. He suggested that India should engage diplomatically with the US to emphasize that diversifying trade mechanisms is not an anti-American move, but rather a step towards global financial stability. India could also accelerate its central bank digital currency initiative and push for globalization of platforms like the Unified Payments Interface UPI to further its interests. While Trump's warning has drawn attention, the reality is that the US dollar's share in global reserves has been slowly declining over the past 2 decades. According to the IMF, Other non-traditional reserve currencies such as the Chinese yuan, Australian dollar, and Canadian dollar are gaining ground. This shift is partly driven by countries seeking alternatives to the US dollar after its weaponization in the context of sanctions. For India, the best strategy is to support financial reforms within BRICS that align with its interests while maintaining strong diplomatic ties with the US. By doing so, India can ensure that it benefits from more diversified financial options while safeguarding its broader economic and strategic priorities. Trump's threat, while serious, is unlikely to deter BRICS nations from exploring alternatives to the dollar, as the move is seen as necessary for long term financial stability and multipolarity in global trade.